All right, our next topic in section 4.1 is the distributive property. The distributive property only works for multiplication. It says that multiplication distributes over addition. And by the way, addition, we can also extend that to subtraction because remember, subtraction is the addition of an opposite. So A is going to go baroop, baroop, to both B and C. So let me write that over here so that you can visually see exactly what I'm talking about. So we're going to distribute A to B, and we're going to distribute A to C. And what we're going to get when we do that distributive is we're going to get A times B, or AB, plus A times C, or AC. And that's the distributive property. Now, the distributive property doesn't really help us out too much with numbers. It's really for variables. So let's just practice a few of these and know that, it doesn't really work all that well. So 4 times 3 plus 2, we really should do that one with order of operations, but we're doing it with numbers this time just to get some warm fuzzies about this so that we see, oh yeah, it really does work, and we'll check it out later. So we do 4 times 3, which is going to give me 12, plus 4 times 2, which is going to give me 8, and then we add them up, 12 plus 8, and that would be our final answer. I'm just going to leave it as the sum because we're just interested in the distributive property. But you see, this is 20, and if we did order of operations like we should with numbers, we would say 3 plus 2 is 5, and 5 times 4 is 20. And there's your warm fuzzies. That was what I was talking about, that we would definitely get what we expected. But we are practicing the distributive property here. And so now the same thing here, we're going to practice with a variable instead. So in this one, I'm going to distribute the x over here and over here. So I get x times 3, which I like to write as 3x, numbers first, and then the variables for multiplying, and x times 5, which again I like to write as 5x. And we're going to see very soon how we can add those two things together because they're what we call like terms. All right, our part C, we have 2 times 2x plus 3. And the distributive property with that one, we're going to go ahead and we're going to distribute the 2 across. So we have distribute there and distribute there. Now when we do this time, we're actually going to be using an associative property. This says 2 times 2x, and then plus 2 times 3, which we know is 6. And this is where we're going to use the associative property right there to do that multiplication that we know about. So 2 times 2 is 4, and then it's still being multiplied by x, and then plus the 6 there. And that actually is what we call a simplified expression, and that means that we can't do anything more with it. It's as simple as it gets. Now this last example is just going to go to show us that we can do the distributive property for more than just 2 terms. It can be extended out for as many terms as we like. And the other thing that it's going to help to see is, again, this associative property. So we're going to distribute the 5 all the way across to each and every term. So 5 times x gives us 5x, plus 5 times y gives us 5y, plus, and I'm going to show it again, 5 times, and then what we have is 5z. And again, associative property, associating those two numbers. So we have 5x plus 5y, and then what we have is plus 25z. And so that's our final answer there. That's our simplified version, and that actually is completely simplified in this particular case. So that's the distributive property and a little bit how we use it. Now your book wants to make really sure that you do not confuse distributive and associative property. And so that's what example 6 is about here. So you see 2 times 2 times 3 does not equal 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. Multiplication does not distribute over multiplication. It only distributes over addition like we've been seeing